The only critical measurement for you from the front of the horse is you have to visualize the length of toe. We have our basal horseshoeing technique, our 1/3, 2/3 measurement for the base of a horse. We're going to demonstrate it by drawing a template of the foot. So here is the inside buttress, and there's the outside buttress. I'm going to trace the shape of that foot. If I know what the hoof wall looks like, hang in there, Jake. If I know where the toe is, here, I know where the buttress, the furthest point rearward on the inside heel, and the outside buttress, those will be critical when I'm shaping a shoe. But the toe position and the buttress position is not where they need to be for a natural foot, because the foot has grown long away from the horse. But if we can make a template of what that foot is, I want to know how far the bottom of that foot is away from the bulb line. I have a rough sketch of the symmetry of his foot. I have the outside buttress, the inside buttress. If I wanted to look down and see the point of the frog, and that was not a very good drawing. That's why we're horseshoers and not artists. So now I know where the bulb is. I know where the point of the frog is. Our 1/3, 2/3 basal horseshoeing technique requires that you locate the true apex of the frog. It requires that you locate the bulb line. Remember, when frogs look kind of pointy, that's not the exit point. If I shorten the frog, because of the dry ground here in Texas, I'm going to use the nippers to get rid of excess frog. It's important to clean these frogs up on domestic horses. The wild horses don't get it cleaned up, but they don't carry weight and they don't have to stand in confinement. When I clean both sides of a frog so that that valley is hygienically self-cleaning, any mud, muck, or manure that he steps in will ooze out the back. Now I have whittled on that frog so the valleys are reasonably open. Now I hold the buttress toe. I can see that the true apex of the frog is right here. We've made shift on a table. We've located the true apex of the frog, and now I've tried to switch to red ink. For our basal, 1/3, 2/3 basal horseshoeing technique, it's critical to know the distance from the bulb line to the true apex of the frog. Then I need to measure that distance and it comes out 4 1/8 inch. 1/3 of 4 1/8 is 1 3/8. So now when I come 1 3/8, this is the center of our foot. Half of our foot is here. And when I go forward 1 3/8, the other half of the foot is here. Now this is bizarre. I'm saying, here's where this horse was shod, and here's the center of that horse's coffin joint. Not really the center of the coffin joint, but it's the line of maximum force. It's the center of mass. You know, in the early 70s, I got a bleeding ulcer worrying about a horse's foot. People were talking that a horse's foot should be divided in thirds. If a horse has laminitis or a founder, you support the front 1/3 of a foot. Well, I started looking at feet, and it flustered me, because how do I divide the bottom of that foot in a third, and what is the front 1/3? But I realized, talking about thirds, talking about halves, talking about front to back, I needed to know the center. And it wasn't until some years went by and I'm with a mechanical engineer, and he said, if you're trying to find the center of mass for a leg on a living organism, keep in mind it's not a kitchen table. It's not a skyscraper. You can't just draw something perpendicular with Mother Earth, call it line of gravity, and say that's where it's going to be. That's the center, because this horse moves. You can't just talk about center of gravity, which is a thing that engineers consider when buildings start to tip. So look at my physique for a minute and realize that line of gravity, is just an imaginary line perpendicular with the ground. That's gravity, and it's here, a line of gravity. But center of gravity is one position when I'm standing here, and when I shift, the center of gravity kind of goes back towards over my kidneys, towards my lower back, and that center of gravity is how I balance. So I was trying to say 1/3, 2/3, I was trying to divide this foot up. It didn't make sense because I couldn't locate the center. So at HoofTalk in 1993, when we published HoofTalk, we located a point which is 1/3 the distance from the apex of the frog to the bulb line. Doesn't matter who trims the heels or doesn't trim the heels, the bulb line's always positioned there. Doesn't matter what this is, the apex of the frog is always there. So it doesn't matter what kind of trash or what kind of trouble this horse is in, the point, the apex of the frog and the bulb line are reasonable points to measure off of, because they do not change on adult horses. With our 1/3, 2/3 basal horseshoeing technique, we come in here, we locate the apex of the frog, we measure to the bulb line, we divide by 3. When I come back 1/3 measurement, that 1 3/8 back, that's the line of maximum force, that's the center of mass. Whatever nature gives me back here to the bulb line, that's all I'm going to allow out here at the toe. So we have used a template, and you can see with black ink where the buttresses were before. You can see where our apex of our frog wasn't, and we carved and found, and this back line represents the bulb line. We're now ready to trim this foot from the shoer's position.